Welcome to the deep dive. You're probably here because, like us, you want to get a real handle on important topics quickly, but without drowning in information.
Exactly. Think of this as, well, your shortcut to really understanding something vital.
And today we're diving into something pretty fundamental, whole person wellness. It sounds big.
It is big, but it's also incredibly important. We've been digging through the research, and the clear message is that being well isn't, just the absence of disease.
Right, it's more than that.
Much more. It's this richer state where we recognize how connected everything is, our physical health, our mental state, and yeah, even our spiritual side.
Okay, so whole person wellness. Let's unpack that. What's the absolute core idea here? The sources seem to really stress looking at the individual as a complete system.
That's it. Not just looking at symptoms in isolation. It's about your biology, sure,
Yeah.
but also your behaviors, your social world, your environment. It all meshes together.
And why does that matter for, someone listening? How does that translate?
Well, it shifts the focus, doesn't it? From just reacting to problems, treating illness when it pops up, to actually uh, cultivating health proactively, building resilience.
Resilience. You mean that ability to sort of bounce back when things get tough?
Precisely. And focusing on prevention across your whole life, not just fixing things when they break.
So it sounds like it's about taking charge, building a strong base. But it's not all on the individual, is it? I noticed the sources mention moderation and balance, taking an active role, yes, but also these broader factors.
Right, the social determinants of health, that's crucial. Things like where you live, your job, access to resources, they play a huge role. It's not just about willpower.
That adds important context. Your choices matter, obviously, but so do the circumstances around you. You mentioned housing, air quality, things that aren't always in our direct control.
Exactly. It's about understanding that interplay. And interestingly, this whole idea isn't brand new. It's been bubbling up since around the 1960s, kind of pushing back against purely biomedical views.
A move towards a more, well, holistic perspective. And it gets quite specific, doesn't it? The research lays out different dimensions of this wellness.
Yeah, common ones that pop up are emotional, intellectual, physical, social, spiritual, and even vocational, like finding purpose in your work or daily activities.
Some models even throw in environmental and financial well-being, too. It really paints a picture of how complex we are.
And the key takeaway, the thing that really stood out to me, is that these dimensions aren't separate silos. They're constantly interacting.
Which leads us straight into that idea of interconnectedness, mind, body, spirit. The sources really hammer this home.
They do. It's central. We're these intricate beings, and these aspects are deeply woven together. Real wellness, true wellness, seems to come from integrating them, finding that harmony.
It feels intuitive when you stop and think about it. Like if you're super stressed mentally,
Mm-hmm.
you might feel it physically, right? A tension headache, maybe tight shoulders.
Absolutely. That's a classic mind-body link. Or think about someone dealing with a chronic physical illness that can definitely take a toll on their mental and emotional health. It's a two-way street.
A reciprocal relationship, the research calls it. And emotions can actually trigger physical stuff.
Oh, definitely. Worry messing with your digestion, fear kicking off that whole stress response, increased heart rate, shallow breathing, all of that.
And the connections go deeper still. I saw mentions of mental health challenges potentially increasing risks for physical conditions.
Yeah, things like diabetes or heart disease, and vice versa. Physical conditions impacting mental health. But it works positively too. Physical activity, for example, is fantastic for easing symptoms of depression and anxiety.
That's a hopeful connection. And what about the mind-spirit link?
That's really interesting. Spirituality and the sources define this broadly, like a personal search for meaning, purpose, connection.
Not necessarily tied to organized religion.
Exactly. It provides this bedrock for mental well-being, a sense of belonging, maybe, or hope. It builds resilience.
And body-spirit, how does that connection work?
Well, some traditions see the body as like a vessel.
Mhm.
So practices like yoga aim to align the physical and spiritual. Even just basic self-care, looking after your body, can be seen as a spiritual act.
Honoring the vessel.
Right. And many spiritual practices, like meditation or prayer, have this calming effect on the nervous system, which translates directly into physical health benefits, lower stress levels, that kind of thing.
There was also this term diagnostic overshadowing. That sounded important in a healthcare context.
Yes, very important. It's basically when a healthcare provider might mistakenly blame new physical symptoms on a pre-existing condition, often a mental health one, and they might miss something else entirely.
Wow, so not seeing the whole picture can have real
It
risk.
absolutely can. It highlights why that integrated view is so critical.
And you mentioned the nervous system acting as a sort of bridge between mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah, it seems to be a key mediator.
Yeah.
Stress hits all three dimensions via the nervous system. But the flip side is practices that help regulate the nervous system, think meditation, deep breathing,
Uh-huh.
they have these broad benefits that ripple outwards. A small positive shift in one area can genuinely lift the others. It's quite powerful.
That ripple effect idea is great, and it's fascinating how, after maybe a period where Western medicine focused more separately on mind and body, there's this renewed focus on bringing them back together.
There really is a growing appreciation for that mind-body-spirit connection.
So, for people listening wanting to improve their well being, how do they actually do that? How can they nurture this interconnectedness? The research points to some specific practices.
It does. Yoga, meditation, and Tai Chi come up again and again as really effective ways to cultivate this.
Okay, let's start with yoga. What's the essence of it?
Well, it has ancient roots in India. The core idea is integrating physical postures, the poses or asanas, with specific breathing techniques, pranayama, and often meditation. It's about uniting body and mind.
For holistic well being, and the benefits are pretty broad.
Very broad. Physically, you're looking at improved strength, balance, flexibility. It can help with things like back pain, arthritis, even heart health and sleep.
But connecting back to our theme, the mental side seems key too. Stress reduction, mood.
Absolutely. Huge benefits there. Relaxation, stress management, less anxiety, better mood, more energy, better focus. It ticks a lot of boxes mentally and emotionally.
And spiritually.
It can foster community if you practice in a group, definitely encourages self-care and self-awareness, and many find it leads to a sense of inner peace or heightened consciousness. It's quite comprehensive.
Okay, what about meditation? That seems simpler in a way, maybe more accessible.
It can be. At its heart, meditation is about training your attention, either focusing the mind on something specific like your breath or just quieting the mental chatter. Lots of different techniques exist.
And the benefits. Mentally, I assume stress and anxiety reduction are big ones.
Top of the list. Plus, improved focus, concentration, self-awareness, emotional regulation. Some research even hints it might help protect against age-related memory decline, and generally a greater sense of inner calm.
Does it do anything physically?
Yeah, potentially.
Mhm.
Things like lower resting heart rate, maybe lower blood pressure over time. Some find it helps with sleep or even managing pain perception, possibly even boosts the immune system.
And the spiritual angle of meditation.
It's often used for deeper self-reflection, connecting with maybe the sacred aspects of life or a higher power, if that resonates. Cultivating compassion, finding purpose. It's a path inward.
Okay, and the third one mentioned was Tai Chi, those slow flowing movements.
Right, often called meditation in motion. It comes from traditional Chinese medicine and martial arts. It's all about gentle, continuous movements that promote harmony between mind and body and the flow of co-life energy.
Gentle, but still physically beneficial.
Surprisingly so, especially for balance. It's great for fall prevention in older adults. Also improves flexibility, some strength, cardiovascular health. It can help with arthritis, pain too.
And mentally, similar to the others.
Yes, reduce stress and anxiety, better mood, improved focus and concentration. Potential cognitive benefits are being studied too.
Is there a spiritual component to Tai Chi?
For many practitioners, yes. It can involve feeling more connected to nature, enhancing self-awareness, feeling grounded. That mind-body harmony itself can feel quite spiritual.
It's really striking how much overlap there is in the benefits stress, mood, focus. It really does seem to point back to that mind-body link and regulating the nervous system.
It really does. And it's good to have options. Tai Chi is excellent for balance, particularly for seniors. Meditation is super flexible with all the different styles. Yoga is maybe the most overtly integrated physical, mental, spiritual practice.
Now, shifting gears slightly, nutrition. The sources didn't give detailed meal plans, but nutrition seemed implicitly important.
Definitely. It was mentioned under headings like healthy behaviors or lifestyle interventions. One source did give an example of a whole foods, plant-based diet, low in total fat, fitting this whole person model.
So the takeaway isn't a specific diet, but the principle that what you eat matters for everything.
Exactly. It fuels your body, impacts your mood, your energy levels. It affects mind, body, and spirit. The general vibe from the research supports what we generally know. Balanced diet, lots of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean protein.
And limiting the less helpful stuff, processed foods, sugary drinks, unhealthy fats, hydration too.
Right. And there was also a mention of how we eat. Mindful eating.
Ah, yes, paying attention, savoring, noticing hunger and fullness cues, not just shoveling food down while distracted.
Precisely. And while specific superfoods get hype, the research really supports a well-rounded approach, getting a good mix of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, omega-3s, fiber, the whole package.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, let's circle back to the spirit part of mind, body, spirit. How did the sources define spirituality in this context?
They defined it quite broadly, which I think is helpful. It's that personal search for meaning and purpose, your core values, connecting to something larger than just yourself. Importantly, it often extends beyond traditional religious structures.
So you don't have to be religious in a conventional sense to have a spiritual life.
Not at all. And this spiritual dimension plays a big role in providing comfort, building that inner strength or resilience we talked about, fostering hope, especially during tough times.
What are some examples of spiritual practices mentioned?
All sorts. Prayer, obviously, for those who connect that way. Mindfulness, just being present without judgment, which has roots in Buddhism but is widely used now.
We talked about meditation already. That fits here too.
Definitely. Also, connecting with nature, feeling that sense of awe or peace outdoors. Participating in spiritual or religious communities, that sense of belonging is powerful. Engaging in rituals, whether religious or personal ones, that hold meaning for you.
It seems the common thread is cultivating inner peace and finding purpose.
I think so. And fostering that sense of connection, whether it's to a higher power, to humanity, to nature, or just to your own deepest values. It helps make sense of things.
And the mental health benefits seem clear too, reducing anxiety, depression.
Yes, the research supports that link. Even for people who aren't formally religious, but engage in practices that give them meaning and connection. It's that meaning-making function that seems really key for motivation and resilience.
And it's not just an internal thing, connection with others, community is part of it too.
Absolutely. That social connection is often deeply intertwined with spiritual well-being.
Okay, so we have these concepts, interconnectedness, holistic practices, nutrition, spirituality. How does someone actually weave these into a busy life? It can feel overwhelming.
That's a fair point. The consistent advice from the sources is start small. Be consistent. Don't try to overhaul everything overnight.
So for yoga, maybe not aiming for a 90-minute class right away.
Exactly. Maybe start with 15, 20 minutes. Use an online video. Find a beginner's class. Focus on learning the basic form correctly rather than pushing too hard. Even just a few simple poses or stretches during the day counts.
And meditation, same idea.
Yep. Start with just a few minutes daily. Find a quiet spot if you can. Focus on your breath. Maybe use a guided meditation app. The key is patience. Your mind will wander. Just gently bring it back. No big deal.
Okay, baby steps. What about mindful eating?
That can be woven in easily. Just try paying full attention to one meal a day, or even just the first few bites. Notice the taste, texture, smell. Put your fork down between bites. Eat without the TV or phone for 5 minutes. Small changes.
And spiritual practices.
Same approach. Maybe dedicate 5 minutes in the morning for reflection or gratitude. Try being mindful during a routine activity like washing dishes. Spend a little time in nature if you can. Keep a journal. Engage in a hobby that feels purposeful.
The theme is definitely consistency over intensity and making it fit your life.
Absolutely. Find what resonates with you. Experiment. There's no single right way to do this. Bringing mindfulness even to chores can shift your experience. It's about intention.
And is there solid science backing this all up? It feels right, but what does the evidence say?
It's actually increasingly strong. Neuroscience, for example, is showing tangible changes in the brain related to meditation and yoga. Things like reduced activity in stress centers, lower cortisol levels.
Real physiological changes.
Yes. And studies link participation in spiritual communities with positive health outcomes, like longevity and lower rates of depression. Research shows mindfulness and yoga can positively impact hormone levels and nervous system function.
What about things like systematic reviews, those big picture studies?
They're finding good evidence, too. Reviews show yoga is effective for various types of chronic pain and for improving mental health conditions like anxiety and depression.
And for Tai Chi?
Similar story. Strong evidence, especially for fall prevention in older adults, managing osteoarthritis pain, helping with Parkinson's symptoms, and potentially supporting cognitive function.
So it's not just anecdotal.
Not at all. There's a growing convergence of evidence across different fields, psychology, medicine, neuroscience, all pointing towards the validity and benefits of this whole-person approach. The link between spirituality, healthy behaviors, and psychological well-being is also well documented.
It's good to know the science is catching up with the intuition, so to speak. Are there real-world examples of this being put into practice?
Lots of them on different scales. Individually, it's someone starting their day with meditation and a healthy breakfast, maybe taking a mindful walk at lunch, doing some evening yoga, simple things integrated.
But also on a larger scale.
Yes. Think of the VA, the Veterans Health Administration. They have a whole health system of care. The Department of Defense has its Total Force Fitness program. These are big institutions incorporating these
That's
principles.
significant.
It is. There are also places like the Whole Health Institute developing personalized plans,
Ew.
even retirement communities like one called Lakeview Village, operating explicitly on whole person wellness principles for their residents.
So it's adaptable from individual choices to large organizational strategies.
Exactly. Even that simple act of walking outdoors, it hits physical health, mental clarity, maybe social connection if you walk with someone, emotional well-being from being in nature. It shows how interconnected activities can be.
Okay, so pulling this all together as we wrap up, the big takeaway for listeners.
I think it's really about recognizing that you're not just a collection of separate parts. Your mind, your body, your spirit, they're deeply connected, constantly influencing each other. Nurturing that connection is key to optimal health.
And embracing those holistic practices we talked about, yoga, meditation, Tai Chi, along with mindful nutrition and finding what gives you spiritual meaning, these are the tools.
Right. There are pathways to cultivating that whole person wellness. And the journey starts with small, consistent steps that feel right for you. It's personal.
It really is. So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Take just a moment now or later today and reflect. Which dimension of your well-being, mind, body, or spirit feels like it needs a bit more attention right now?
Hmm. Good question.
And then think about one single, small, doable step you could take today to nurture that part of yourself. Just one thing. Remember that ripple effect, even a small action can make a difference across your whole being.